Hey everybody, and welcome to the Ben and Boz Microsoft Excel video tutorial series. I'm Boz.
I'm Ben.
How you doing, man?
Great. It's another beautiful day in Collegeville.
That it is. I'm excited to do one of these. We got some cool tools we're going to teach them today.
I'm excited. We're moving past some of the basics and getting into a little bit more advanced Excel stuff here.
Pretty much. Lesson 5 is we're kind of moving forward. So the goals of this one, we're going to learn some basic data analysis skills, how to analyze data using a couple different tools that we're going to walk through, as well as how to navigate around a large set of data pretty efficiently.
Yeah, and so if you look down below here, you see more specifically what we're going to learn. This first set really revolves around moving through a large data set, and then we're going to get into some basic analysis with average, median, max, min, and finally finish up with a skill that pretty much every employer wants you to have, which is pivot tables and graphing.
Pivot tables, yeah. I hear that one about as much as anything when you're talking tools that are a little bit more advanced that people want you to know about. But let's get after it. I can't wait.
Let's get after it. Let's do it, he says. So,
that's right.
Page down.
Control page down. That was our last video. You taught him. You did it again. All right, go ahead.
Throwback.
That's right.
So you can see we have a large data set here. This is a sales listing for the month of July for Ben and Boz Incorporated. And if we want to see really how big this thing is or navigate around, if I just hold the control key and I'm going to hit the down arrow, it's going to jump all the way to the end of my selection here. So control and down arrow puts me to the end of the selection. If I do control and up arrow, it puts me to the top.
So we look at that. We had close to 100 lines. So this is just kind of a sample sales file. So roughly 100 different transactions it looks like they're all during the month of July.
Yep.
That's what it is.
And so next up, I mean, you can use control and arrow keys to go to any of the four corners of your data set. But sometimes if you have a really wide data set, you just want to jump right to column A at the beginning. And in order to do that, I'm going to go down a couple of cells here. If you just hit the home key, it just pushes you right over to column A. And again, this is one where you might want to have function turned on or off depending on how you view it, just to make sure that you don't do something wrong.
Yeah. And if you want to get to column A, you hit the home, and if you want to get to cell A1, that's a control home, right?
Control home. Let's try it out.
Oh, nice.
There it is, right in cell A1.
Yeah. Where this works sometimes, hit like control right arrow key a couple times, just like get way to the right for a second there. Sometimes people just do this on accident and they're not sure how to get back and they want to scroll back with the mouse. But yeah, just right now either hit a home or a control home.
So
no, don't scroll back.
Don't
scroll back. That's right. So.
All right. So if I go control home,
boom,
puts me right at A1.
That's right. So
there we go.
So as I look at this file right here, close to 100 transactions, and we might just be interested in knowing not only what the total of those are, but averages, max, mins, medians, things like that. So should we jump in and show them that one?
Yeah, let's do it. So just some basic analysis before we get into the pivot tables. Typical thing you might want to know is in the month of July, what was the average invoice amount that we have? So I'll take the average. You want to do max and median then?
That sounds awesome.
Perfect. All right. So average invoice amount. Start with equals like any other formula. And if you start typing average, I just did the AV. And you can see that little box pops up because Excel is smart. They're trying to guess what formula you're going to use. If you want to, you can continue typing average and go with it that way. What I prefer doing is when it has AV, I can just use my arrow keys to navigate and choose which formula I want to use. And once I'm on the one I want, which is average, I just hit the tab key and it selects it for me. I'm ready to start selecting some numbers. So now that I've selected average, I should use the mouse in this case, or I could use the arrow keys and just highlight all of these amounts.
To highlight those, you hit shift and then control down. Is that what you did?
Yeah, I got to the first one, held the control key and the shift key to highlight everything until the end.
All right. Close parentheses and then enter.
Yeah, and sometimes I don't even close the parentheses. Excel is smart enough to know what I want.
Nice, nice.
So we can see our average invoice, $2,471.
Yeah, and I tell you what, when you do the max this time, so go ahead and start doing that same thing. So equals max, open parentheses, and now go grab that same set of data. So go to the first one and shift, control down arrow key, close parentheses. But when you're on there, I tell you what, before you close the parentheses, I think we have to do it before we close it. Hit F4 once for me. It's the anchor feature or the lockdown feature.
Yeah, so as you saw in mine, I had the function key turned off, so F4 didn't work, and I messed up the formula, so I'm going to start that over. Sorry, boss.
No problem.
Go to Amount, highlight all of them, Control-Shift, and then hit the function key on my computer, and F4 is going to lock it down.
And now close parentheses if we think we need it. Now hit Enter. Now give me a Control-D, and then go down once more and Control-D it as well. What it's doing is it's locking down that range. So now if you just go up one cell where it says max, go ahead and just click right up there in that edit bar and go ahead and click up there and change max to median. So as opposed to having to just retype everything the whole time, we can just use some slick techniques there. And I bet you can figure out the next one from
I just hit Enter after I typed it in. So for minimum, this one is actually the min formula. And you can see it's right there.
Nice.
And got it.
Just a quick way to kind of keeps that range there and just changes the word. So
absolutely.
Quick data analysis. But you know what's better for data analysis is using that pivot table. We talked about it in the intro.
Yeah, you can slice and dice information thousands of different ways using a pivot table, even if it's something simple just like this. So first thing that we need to do then is to find where is our pivot table function. And I'm just going to even click on invoice number here and go to you probably start at the home tab. If you navigate over to the insert tab, click on pivot table right here. And you can see briefly, if you follow where my mouse is, there's that little dotted line that's moving. That's showing me that Excel was smart enough to highlight the entire table. It knows that there are headers in there. It knows what's data. So if I just hit OK, in this case, I want it to open up in a new worksheet.
Yeah, and that first one, it says, do you want it to open in a new worksheet? And I think we both usually do. So if you wanted the pivot table to be in this worksheet, you could hit that second, what do they call it, a radio button. But I think we want the new worksheet. So let's just go ahead and OK it.
All right. So if we hit OK here, now we're set up for a pivot table. And you might be asking yourself, Boz, Ben, why is this a big deal? It's just a blank table. There's nothing in it. So Boz, why is it a big deal?
Well, because when you drop some data into it, you can analyze stuff really quickly. Like, let's just say that we want to know
we already have max and min. What else could we want?
We don't have a sum, though, do we?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So should we sum them up?
Sum what? The total amount?
Maybe by customer, as an example. It'd be kind of fun. I'd like to know maybe what the total amount is that we're selling to each customer. Maybe the average by customer.
Yeah.
You know, things.
Let's look at that.
Maybe the count by customer.
Now we're getting crazy.
That's
now
right.
We're getting crazy. So let's we have customer number here. That's a unique identifier for each customer. And what I'm going to do is just click on it and drag it into the rows. So now you can see we had 10 customers in our template.
Just a click and drag, yeah. I mean, you could have dragged it into the columns. I like what you did here. The row, it's going to just show up a little prettier that way.
Yeah, and don't be afraid of breaking your pivot table. You can see you can move anything around. If you don't like it, just click and drag it out. It's literally a lot of times you just have to experiment to kind of figure out exactly what looks good and how to do it.
Yep, and if you just click somewhere off the pivot table, so we kind of lose that part off to the right, now we just go ahead and click back on the pivot table on the left and we get it back. So we got the customer in the row. Let's go ahead and just grab the amount and pull that into the values.
All right. So it looks like we have a default here of sum of amounts. So what Excel did was take everything in the previous sheet from customer 100 and added it up. And so we can see customer 100 had $30,947 worth of sales to our company.
What if I wanted to know the average of the sale amount to each customer, just in general, to say if we tend to sell a higher dollar amount to a certain customer per invoice? How could we do that?
Absolutely. So we have sum of amount in here. What we can do is just click on this little drop down and highlight value field settings. That's where we're going here. So if we click on value field settings, we see that we have tons of things. We could do count, we could do average, max, min for each customer, product, whatever we want. And in this case, you said average.
Yeah, let's do average.
So average for each customer right here. You can see it doesn't look that pretty, so I'm just going to Control-Shift to highlight everything, and then under the home, hit the comma button, get rid of a couple decimals to make sure it looks good. But That's something we could do.
Yeah, and I think, that's just a little introduction to pivot tables. We could do a lot more with it, but you just drag and drop information however you really want to do it. So just wanted to give them a brief introduction on how to use that one. So what if you've got information like this and then you want to graph it as an example?
Yeah, a good quick way to do some graphing is to highlight the information that we're interested in graphing. In this case, I'm going to start and include these row labels and average of amount, not the grand total at the bottom though. And I'm going to go ahead and insert and click on recommended charts over here. And I could do any one of these charts that I want. I'm just going to do recommended charts, and you see here we can get a nice little bar graph by each customer showing us what they had. And if we wanted to, we could click on the line to see what that would look like. Doesn't really make sense in this
It makes
case.
sense if you were maybe looking at total revenue by year or something like that, wanted to see a trend line over time.
You could do a pie chart, bar, literally anything you see here, you're able to do. So if I just click on column, I think that one looks pretty good here. Hit OK, and you can see our graph pops up, customer 100, 101, all the way on through, and the average sale we had to each of those customers.
Yep, pretty neat. So, I mean, this was just very basic with pivot tables and charts. I mean, piles and piles more that people can do. So we just wanted to at least expose you to it at this point in time.
That way when it comes up in an interview, you can tell an employer you at least know what they are.
You at least looked at it. That's right. So,
all right, should we wrap it up?
I think so. Go back to the instructions and let's see. Did we cover everything? We navigated through, moving to the end of the text, going to column A. We did the control home. We did the average, max, median, min, pivot tables, and graphing. I think we remembered to cover everything. That's a bonus.
That's a lot that we covered in this one, actually. So feel free to re-watch these whenever you want if you need to see something again.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, have a great day, everyone. We'll see you.